Arcade One Up took his wife. What a great title for a thumbnail. Guys, good morning and welcome to the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X Gamer here. Good morning. This is the morning drive. This is the morning ritual that we do here. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it if you hit that like button and if you subscribe. Well, let's talk about the vacuum of leadership that is the Arcade One Up. Yesterday, I got this video on my feed, probably because I did the video, Arcade One Up, and I was watching it. It was interesting to see, right? It was really interesting to see other perspectives of the Arcade One Up community. And it's always, good to see what other people think of communities in general, It just gives you a different perspective. Now, I'm not familiar with his channel. I never watched him. It looks like a very big, a lot bigger than me, channel. But it looks like the story started to get picked up out there, right? It's starting to get legs. And this is the type of story that YouTube loves. YouTube loves drama. YouTube loves conflict. YouTube loves, people clowning on people. That gets a lot of views. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about this video that I saw yesterday regarding the whole drama with Arcade One Up and the influencer that supposedly rigged this contest and the whole drama with the spouse and all that stuff. It's a video by Tommy. I think it's Tommy C. The channel's called. You guys can go check it out. I'll put a link down below. But this is a consequence, guys. This is a consequence of poor leadership, and let me tell you why. If the company had come out there right away and made a strong statement, that probably would have been part of this video or any other video that gets made, right? If the company had strong standards that everybody knows, that everybody can identify right away, then it doesn't even really need to be said. I'll give you an example. Nintendo we know has very high standards for their influencers that they partner with, right? Woodhawker, whatever his name is, I can't remember, I'm not familiar with his work or whatever, but I remember them 86ing or just, getting rid of an influencer that made a video regarding modding one of their games or playing emulation or something like that. They do not mess around. They don't care how many subscribers you have. They don't care how many views you get. You cross a line with Nintendo, you are gone. It doesn't matter who you are. So when a scandal happens with Nintendo, you don't even question it. You know it has nothing to do with Nintendo. And it has to do everything with the influencer, right? But not here with Arcade One Up, because they haven't established that culture in their company. The leadership hasn't communicated that message to anybody in any meaningful way, right? I had huge criticism of any CEO that goes out there, or any company head that goes out there and tries to get too chummy with the internet, because then you have this problem, right? Tommy Tallarico wouldn't have all these videos made on him if he hadn't gone out, and tried to engage with people, which is fine for a personality, right? For a spokesperson, but it's not okay for a CEO. Those are two different roles, right? And the same criticism I have, for example, of John D., right? He wants to shine just like Tallarico, but these are the consequences that, you'll have people on the internet making videos, an idiot like myself, right? Making a video on Arcade, One Up and all their follies, when it doesn't have to be. If a company has a strong business culture and a strong foundational operations, they have contingency plans for all this stuff. What happens if an employee goes rogue, right? That happens all the time in business, guys. You have people, having mental breakdowns. You have people they have midlife crises, all kinds of stuff happens in business, right? That you never hear about. And that's because companies have, methods of dealing with this stuff. But it's also their reputation, right? You would never question Nintendo if something like this happens. You wouldn't ever, because their standards are very high. But when you have no messaging, right? When you have no messaging, when you didn't put a message out there, when your culture isn't clear and defined in the community, this happens. This is a funny video, guys. I'll put a link down below because it's just making light of the situation. I told you this stuff was silly, that it was unnecessary, right? But when you have this vacuum of leadership, this is what happens, right? And this is just not for us to just sit here and go over the same things that we talked about at Arcade 1UP. This is more for your learning journey. You know, a lot of you want to put up businesses. A lot of you want to put up brands out there. That's part of the culture now. You know, I'm going to establish myself. I'm going to do a brand and this and that and the other. Well, if you want to do that, these are the kind of things that you have to establish at your core, right? Quality is going to be my foundational pillar. You know, ethics are going to be my foundational pillar. You have very small companies out there that you would never question because you know they're not about this, right? They're not about drama. They're not about getting views on YouTube. They're not about obtaining the shine. Smaller companies don't have these problems. Why? Because they don't make these mistakes. But when you have poor leadership at PR, when you don't have a defined culture, right? When you don't have standards that people recognize, then you're opening yourself to this, because this is a type of story that YouTube thrives on. YouTube thrives on the drama. YouTube thrives on comedy and clowning on people that make mistakes, especially when you put them out there. And you know, it's one thing to say, well, this shouldn't happen to anybody. Yeah, it shouldn't happen to anybody. But first of all, you shouldn't put this stuff out in the internet for starters. You know, you just didn't, in a matter of course, should have been handled differently. But now it's out there. For the people involved, it's sad because you're talking about a marriage, you're talking about children. I mean, it's just a sad situation. For the company, it's even worse because their name is attached to it. Look at the name of this video. Arcade 1UP took his wife. And it's funny, right? It's funny, but now your brand is attached to that comedy, to that type of comedy, to that type of clowning. And that wouldn't happen if you had a strong leadership core in PR, if you had a strong culture in your company of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and those standards being communicated to any audience that's paying attention to any of your content. None of this would have happened. This all lies in your culture and how you set your company up. So learn from these guys' mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes, guys. And let's just take this as a learning experience. I'll put a link to the video down below so you know what I'm talking about. I always forget to do that. I'm not good about doing those things. But anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for, you know, subscribing to my channel. I do appreciate it. Hit that like button for me on the way out. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much. Take care.